All right. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another Write With Me session. Today we're continuing the screenplay from scratch, The Ballad of Garvin Hackett. So, for those of you who are new, we'll do a little intro. Let's see. So, Write With Me, this is a live stream of live screenwriting from scratch. It's the 9th day of the stream, and we're dealing with subplots today. So we've done a lot of research, and now we're going to integrate that into subplots for Garvin Hackett, specifically The Ballad of Garvin Hackett. It's the name of the script. So welcome to live screenwriting, The Ballad of Garvin Hackett. It's a movie script written completely from scratch. The Ballad of Garvin Hackett is an ironic, darkly comic take on 90s action movies. Forrest Gump meets Scarface, directed by Sidney Lumet, except the laws of physics actually apply. So there are some interesting characters randomly showing up in my text files. So instead of going the traditional development route, I'm writing this movie directly for you in public, and I hope to develop it into a cinematic graphic novel. So grab a notebook or a keyboard and write along with me. If you want to follow along from the beginning, check out the Liminal Boundaries Channel. You can see the link here or in the description of the video. And finally, if you want to learn this craft, I am a professional script doctor. If you want to learn the exact tools demonstrated in this video that working writers use to write, rewrite, and develop stories quickly, I'm not just vamping. I'm actually using tools. It's a structured process that you're watching. I have a lecture that shows you how, and you can see the link here or down in the description. The tools apply to any form of narrative storytelling, screenplay, novels, comics, television, games, all of it. Now, I also have a paid version of this, and it is actually, you can get it here. Oops, sorry. Oopsie. Let's see. Here. Yeah, there you go. You can get it here. And this video, the paid version, it includes full scene breakdowns from well-known films and hands-on guidance for anyone serious about telling stories. This was a difficult video to put on YouTube because of copyright, because I go through very famous films and I play out the scenes, and then I explain to you how the tools apply in these scenes, how you would see the tools and how you would use them. So if you do decide to, I'm very grateful if you do decide to pick up a copy of the course, and if you do, thank you very much. And a portion of every sale supports the Arts Accelerator, which is a nonprofit dedicated to developing the skills of emerging artists. I teach at the Arts Accelerator on a regular basis, about once a year. It's a great nonprofit. Highly recommend it. artsaccelerator.org if you're interested. So that's about it. Let's get to it. Let's go to our home and see what we're up to. Okay, so we're looking for subplots. And whenever you got subplots, what I like to do is I like to look at the relationship between our protagonist, Garvin Hackett, and the other characters. So we've done a bit of research recently. So let's sort of recenter on the story. So let's see. So as you know, if you've been following the channel or if you've attended any of my workshops and stuff, I have a very specific definition of a story. A story is a setup which sets up a dramatic game, a series of escalations, a twist, and a resolution. So let's see what we got. In the main story, 1994 Miami, Whitey Jackson, a button man for Joel Gillette's drug gang, the Vanta gang, accidentally blows up the car an innocent accountant James Robert Hackett, while trying to kill the leader of the rival Booby Boys gang. James Robert's son, unemployed 22-year-old Garvin Hackett, doesn't know who killed his father, but he vows to get revenge. Now we've got our setup. Is Garvin going to get revenge? So the first escalation is Garvin grabs an M60 machine gun and walks down his suburban street searching for his father's killer. Escalation 2. In prison, Whitey Jackson convinces Garvin that the Booby Boys actually killed his father and offers to train Garvin to kill so he can avenge his father's death. I think we don't need to kill. I think we're good with train. And then Escalation 3. Garvin becomes the top button man in Joel Gillette's gang, practically single-handedly dismantling the Booby Boys. Twist. While recovering Whitey's car from the pound, Garvin discovers that Whitey, and therefore Joel's gang, actually killed his father, and that he's been working for his father's killers the whole time. And the resolution is that Garvin kills everyone in the Joel Gillette gang. That's the story. That's the A story. It's pretty much a straight-up action story. It's an action plot. So we've got some interesting characters, right? And we want to see how they react to their relationship with Garvin. So here we've got the first B story is Roger Gust. He's the tabloid reporter, and this is not set up yet. But we have here sort of a story skeleton. And since I have no idea what to put in here, I'm going to go and look up Roger as a character. And while I'm doing that, I'll get rid of this repeat thing. Okay, let's see. Who is Roger as a character? Look at my character. Here's Roger Gust. Let's see what he says. Tabloid reporter. His game is to maximize his ratings. His strategy is to be unscrupulous. And his decision, he interviews Garvin's mother about the death of her husband before the police notify her. He makes a deal with Garvin to get tips before Garvin kills someone. He interviews Garvin's girlfriend, revealing Garvin's identity. And he interviews Garvin. So that's his 4 decisions. He's just a very unscrupulous guy, and he keeps succeeding, apparently. We know his show. I was going to call it Flashpoint, but I think Panic Button is funnier. So I think Panic Button might be it. And we should probably say it's Roger could show up with his crew before Garvin does, and the mobsters run away. They watch TV to see what happens. That's funny. All right. So that's basically the Roger Gust character. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these decisions here, and I'm going to go to the B story, and I'm just going to put them down here as notes, just so I can reference them, right? And I think, where does the setup for the B story of Roger Gust really happen? I mean, if I just think about it in terms of him and Garvin interacting, their first interaction, he's interviewing Garvin's mother, right? And then, well, if you really think of Roger Gust's story, the setup is he discovers James Roberts' charred wallet and wants to get the story, right? So escalation 1, he interviews Garvin's mother before the police have notified her of her husband's death. Okay. And then escalation 2. Just trying to think of, like, what else does he do that's kind of following this, he's got to get this story. I mean, one of the things would be to, and this is a question. Oh, have you an end in mind by chance if I ask? We have somebody in the chat. Let's say hello. Hey, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the channel. Yes, the end was determined in the A story. So I'll take you through that real quick. So story A, at the end, Garvin kills everyone in Joel Gillette's gang. So he gets his revenge. But what's interesting is there's an irony there because in getting his revenge, he destroys all his relationships, right? So he kind of recreates his life and then destroys it all because his overarching mission. I hope that helps. But thank you. Thank you for the question. What does this do? I'm going to give you a heart there. Thank you for asking and contributing. All right. So I hope that worked. So let's see. Back to Roger Gust. So the next Garvin drives the next bit. So Garvin, comes out dressed like Rambo, having like a mental thing, carrying the M60. So he covers Garvin's revenge walk. Oh yeah. That's actually pretty good. Because that's how he gets to know him. Right? And then escalation 3. I would say he sees Garvin at a murder scene. Right? Maybe puts 2 and 2 together. That Garvin is the one killing everybody. And then escalation 4, the obvious one, right, is he bribes Garvin to give him tips ahead of time. All right? So he can get there as the violence is happening. Escalation 5, he interviews Garvin's girlfriend, Tammy Lynn. Revealing Garvin's identity. That's a big one. Identity. Okay. I wonder what kind of a twist we've got. I don't know that we have a twist yet. But the resolution is he interviews Garvin at the massacre, at the Vanta Gang massacre. So, yeah. I wonder if there's a missing escalation. I have an idea here. He bribes Garvin to give him tips ahead of time. I wonder if there's a missing escalation. Let's call it escalation 3.5, which should probably replace escalation 3, but he asks Garvin for his story. Because he should ask, And then Garvin says nothing, right? And so I need a twist for Roger. I kind of think, okay, I see how we do this. Okay. Oh, we got another. Let's see what that. Let's see what he says. I thank you very much for answering me, and as kindly as you have too, it does help. And also to conclude, just as I should, many who write do not think about an ending. This ruins many stories. You're absolutely right. Yes. And one of the things that the way I write is you think of your story as this skeleton, right, of escalations, a twist, and a resolution. So you always have that in mind. Then you actually write backwards. It makes the story much easier, and it makes it much more fun because then you can set it up, right? Nothing's set in stone. Sometimes you might change your ending, but that's a great thing to start with the end in mind. It really helps you craft the story. So yeah, thanks for the feedback. Yeah. And then here, the twist. I think his interviewing Garvin's girlfriend, that is the twist. He reveals Garvin's identity. That's our twist. And then what we do, and this is, you're watching me compress a story in real time, right? So, and then he interviews Garvin at the Venta Gang Massacre, yes. And then here, he asks Garvin for his story, and Garvin says nothing. And that is what he does. So I'm going to go escalation 3. And then escalation 4 is he asks Garvin for his story. And that now sets up a twist. See? Garvin refuses, right? And then he interviews Tammy Lynn, and then he reveals Garvin's identity. So he's going to get the story no matter what, whether Garvin will help him or not. And his story is more important than Garvin's safety, obviously. And that's our twist. And so now we've got some story. We got a story compression. And then he interviews Garvin at the Vanta. He finally gets the interview, right? He gets the interview at the Vanta Gang Massacre with Garvin. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Nice. I love this. I love that comment. Thanks. I gotta. Let me see. I think I'm just gonna put a little heart. I don't really know how to use the chat very well yet, but I'm gonna put that in there. Thank you. Thank you. Oh yeah, there's a great in the chat. It says, "Every work of art should begin at its end," and that is a quote from Edgar Allan Poe. Beautiful quote. Beautiful quote, and I think he was onto something. All right, so let's take a look at our story. So we see a setup. We get Roger discovers James Roberts' Charles wallet and wants to get the story. Escalation 1 interviews Garvin's mother before the police have notified her of her husband's death. Covers Garvin's revenge walk live. Oh, that's going to be fun. Just having a tabloid reporter hyping everything up while he walks, down the street. And then he sees Garvin at a murder scene, and he puts 2 and 2 together. He bribes Garvin to give him tips ahead of time. I think I'm just gonna put in, not sees Garvin at a murder scene. He figures out Garvin. He figures out Garvin is the booby boy killer, right? And then he bribes Garvin to get him tips ahead of his next killing. Right? And I have an idea for that. I don't think Garvin will ever do that, but you know who will do that? Tammy Lynn. Tammy Lynn will do that. Yeah. And he asks Garvin for a story. Garvin refuses. And that's when they meet at the killing, right? That makes sense now. And he interviews Garvin's girlfriend, Tammy Lynn. So let's just say he interviews Tammy Lynn, revealing Garvin's identity. Great. So that actually is making everything a little bit more tight. So let's get Tammy Lynn, because this is actually a good time to set this up. So what Tammy Lynn wants, I'm not sure exactly what Tammy Lynn wants yet. But we do know her resolution is she retcons, she reveals Garvin's identity. Yeah, so her twist is probably calling Roger Gust. We might not see that twist, though. It might be a hidden twist. And then she reveals Garvin's identity and tells a highly distorted retcon story of their relationship. So that's definitely the last thing she does. And that's the last we see of Tammy Lynn. I wonder if she would go with Roger to the massacre. I don't know. Yeah, but she would probably give... She she would probably blow the whole thing. She would probably like, yeah, Garvin's identity and the Vanta gang, right? And the Vanta gang. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And the situation with the Vanta gang. And then the thing is, so Garvin finds out that Whitey Jackson is the killer, right? And Whitey Jackson's his mentor, and so that messes him up. And then he goes home, and she's gone. And then he watches her reveal the identity, his identity on live TV. So what would make... Oh... Garvin calls Roger. He says, "You want a story? Okay, here's the story." Right? Yeah, because once he realizes the gig is up, he calls Roger. That's what he'll do. So that's what'll happen. So we have James Roberts. Sorry, let's go to Roger Gust. And then here. And then here, Garvin calls him. Yes. Tells him what he's about to do. Not what he's about to do, but where to meet him. Tell him where to meet. Okay. And then it's the Vanta Massacre. Okay. So that means that he interviews Tammy Lynn, revealing Garvin's identity becomes an escalation. So it goes here. Escalation 5. Lots of escalations all of a sudden. That's good. And then I think we go... Yeah, so I think if he bribes Garvin to give him tips ahead of his next killing, right? These two are the same, I think. Let's merge those. This is dramatic compression. You want to just... see. I got to mix those together because it's an extra beat. And you'll see how it reads better. So he covers Garvin's revenge walk. Okay, so he interviews Garvin's mother before the police have notified her of her husband James Roberts' death. Okay, and then he covers Garvin's revenge walk live. And then he figures out Garvin is the Booby Boy killer. This is much later in the story. And then he asks Garvin for the story and Garvin refuses. Okay, so he bribes Garvin to give him an interview, or at least a tip of his next killing. Garvin refuses. All right. There we go. And then we can get rid of this. Those are combined now. Escalation 5. Let's see. Ty Turtle has something else to say. 70 people once ganged up on me for even daring to say that Poe mentioned that. In the chat of 70, it had been told to me, if every work should begin at its end, then no one could write. Ha 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 ha. Well, sometimes 70 people aren't right, and sometimes you are, right? So the result is in the result, right? The answer is in the result. So you're watching us compress a story in real time because we know the ending. Right? It really helps. Otherwise, you're sort of looking around like, where's this going to go? But now we're just working on setting it up, which it's much more fun to think of like how to amp up a story than it is thinking about how to end it, right? So let's see. So let's review our story together. So Roger discovers James Roberts' Charles wallet and wants to get the story. Escalation 1. Interviews Garvin's mother before the police have notified her of her husband James Roberts' death. Covers Garvin's revenge walk live. Figures out Garvin is the Booby Boy's killer. I think I'm going to go and I'm going to merge these. That's actually funny. Oh my god. So that first escalation is he goes to interview Garvin's mother, and then Garvin has his mental breakdown, and he comes out with the M60, and everyone is kind of nervous. And then he's just, that's the story, and the mother is like still processing it, and they just like turn away from her and go to the story. So they just all abandon her, right? And then we'll put here abandoning Garvin's mother. That's funny. Okay, so this becomes escalation 2. So we're compressing this down nicely. Let's see. Escalation 4. And that, yeah, I think we can get rid of escalation 2. We can just, he gets there so fast, right? So he sees Garvin at a killing. Crime scene. And bribes Garvin to give him an interview. Or at least tip him ahead of his next killing. Garvin refuses. Great. That becomes escalation 2. Now it's getting more intense. This is great. And this is great dramatic compression. Right? So we had a bunch of escalations. We're sort of merging them, raising the stakes every time. He interviews Tammy Lynn, revealing Garvin's identity, which is kind of a twist, but for him, it's an escalation. And then, twist, Garvin calls him, telling him where to meet, the Vanta massacre, and then the resolution. He finally gets with Garvin at the Vanta. He finally gets the interview with Garvin at the Vanta gang massacre. Okay. Bang, we can delete the notes, and we have a story. So this is good. This is, my opinion, this is great now. So we have a B story, Garvin and Roger Gus. So let's check out our C story, Joelle Gillette. Boom. Writing, Garvin Hackett story, Joelle Gillette. So we have a setup and few escalations, a twist, and a resolution. So we know how it ends, right? Is Garvin machine guns Garvin machine guns Joelle to death before Joelle can say anything. And that's kind of actually he starts talking, right as Joelle starts talking. Okay. So that's the end. He's going to kill him. And then the setup. What is the setup? I think there's going to be a question there, is this going to be Garvin's new family, right? Because the question in the story, will Garvin get revenge? He will. Huh. See, there's two possible questions here. Will Garvin discover the truth? Right? Which, discover that Joelle is responsible for his father's death. But if that's the case, then the escalations would be near misses, right? Like he would have to talk to a booby boy gang member. Right? Who claims they know nothing about it. Right? Or who claims they tried to kill us, right? right? And then what would be like, I mean, escalation 5, the twist is, he discovers the stuff in the trunk. But I don't think that's really it. I think it's more, will Joel replace Garvin's dad? Is kind of the vibe, right? I don't know. Let's see. Because this is more the A story, right? Will Joel... I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna say become Garvin's father figure. Become Garvin's father figure. I don't like this because I can't really take a picture of it so much. I mean, you kind of do, but yeah. And then, so then, what are this feels more like, a big escalation would be Joel recruiting Garvin at the mansion, right? He's being very persuasive. And then, so that's definitely one, right? I'm trying to think. What are some other escalations? I think I know what the setup is. Will Joel maintain his psychological control over Garvin? That's actually what's happening. And that's why Joel recruiting Garvin at the mansion, being persuasive, showing Garvin his dream life. Right? And that's actually the first escalation that we would get, because he sort of brings him into the cult of Joel. So that's actually the right one. Oopsie. That's actually the right one. So let's go. Escalation 1. Escalation 2. He talks to Boo Boo Gamer, who tries to kill, who claims the Vanta gang tried to kill their boss. This is great because, Booby Boy gang member claims the Vanta gang tried to kill their boss. And then Joel convinces Garvin they are liars. All right, so you see this escalation, right? What other escalations? What else can he do to sort of control Garvin Hackett? Huh? For the setup. Oh, okay. Let's see. We got a question here. For the setup, what is exactly meant? And I only mean, what plot point is your setup supposed to represent in relation to the many different escalations you do have listed on the screen? That's a very good question. It's a very good question. So in this system, it's a very simple system. So given that a story is a setup, a series of escalations, a twist, and a resolution, what exactly is a setup? What a setup is an event that sets up what's called a dramatic game. And a dramatic game has a very specific definition, right? A dramatic game has an objective, right? It is the pursuit of a goal, if you will, that can be achieved, abandoned, or postponed. Those are the only three outcomes. So you can get it, you can not get it, you can fail. Abandonment is failure, right? Because you got killed along the way or whatever, right? Or you lost hope. So you have the ability to get it, you have the ability to not get it, and then you have the ability to postpone it, right? At the end of Goodfellas, that's kind of a postponement plot, right? Because he always wants to be a gangster, right? And at the end, you can tell he still kind of wants to be a gangster, even though he's in this, witness protection program. So that's a hopefully useful example of how that works. So what you're looking for in a setup is you're looking for that exact structure that will Joel's maintain his psychological control over Garvin, right? That's something that he can either succeed or he could fail. And in this case, at the end, he fails, right? Garvin machine guns him to death right as he starts talking, right? Because Joel's a talker. That's what he does. He's persuasive. And so will Joel maintain his psychological control over Garvin is a good goal, because now we have escalations where we can put this psychological control at risk. We can put Joel's narrative at risk. So the first escalation, of course, is Joel recruiting Garvin at the mansion, being persuasive, showing Garvin his dream life, like, making promises, right? So that's a nice escalation to this psychological control. What do I get? Right? This is what you get. And it's everything he ever wanted, right? Then a Booby Boy gang member claims the Vanta gang tried to kill their boss. The Vanta gang's Joel's gang. And Joel convinces Garvin they're liars. Okay, cool. What would be a third escalation? Oh, so your setup represents your goal per se, for if I even do understand this properly, at least. Yeah. So the setup sets up the game. It sets up the game, and the game is what has the goal, right? So the setup is like an event that happens, and as a result of that event, the audience understands the game, right? And that's usually the game is some character gets a goal, right? And now we know why we're watching. So, for example, in Star Wars, when the stormtroopers kill Luke Skywalker's family, he goes to Ben, right? And now he's going to go with Ben. Or even though he didn't before, now his family's gone, right? So now Luke has a goal, right? And it's to get revenge on the Empire. So, and that's how he starts his training to become a Jedi Knight. But without that setup, right, of the murder of his, Luke doesn't really have a goal before then, right? So, okay. So Joel's recruiting Garvin at the mansion, being persuasive, showing Garvin his dream life. The Booby Boy gang member claims the Vanta gang tried to kill their boss, and Joel convinces Garvin they're liars. Now, to be clear, in Star Wars, the overall goal is the overall setup is done at the very beginning with the text, right? Where they say there's a war going on between the Empire and the Rebels, and now we know, will the Rebels win? That's what gets set up, right? So we know that there's rebels and their goal is to overthrow the Empire. And then the question is, will they succeed? So right away, one of the great things about Star Wars is the setup is immediate, right? And these patterns repeat, like there's in many stories within the story. So the way that these tools work is they're recursive. I hope that makes sense. So you see it in a scene, you see it in a sequence, you see it in an act, and you see it over the course of the whole story. You keep seeing this pattern. So, okay. If you're curious, I do have a lecture. It's the first video in the series where I go over all these ideas and I try to clarify them for you. So if you want to check it out, check out the first video, day 1. I think it's called the Screenwriting Masterclass. I think it's called. Let me see. I'll check it out for you real quick. Let's just look at it together, because this is a good opportunity here. So if you look, there it is. So you want to check this one out. Screenwriting Masterclass, The Tools. And that will show you the tools that I'm using, and it'll walk you through all the definitions. It's actually very short. It all fits on one page. So anyway, I hope that's helpful for you. Let's see. So going back to one. Back to writing. Okay, so we got Joel recruiting Garvin at the mansion. Okay, he's being persuasive, showing Garvin his dream life. Okay, Booby Boy gang member claims Vanta gang tried to kill their boss. Joel convinces Garvin they're liars. Great. And then now the question is, we have 2 escalations. I like to have 3, minimum. And there's got to be the twist. Of course, the twist, right, for this one is Garvin discovers evidence that Whitey killed his father. That is the obvious one, right? And then so we're just missing sort of a third escalation here for me to feel okay. Let's see. Will Joel maintain a psychological control over Garvin? Okay. I like this one. The Booby Boy gang members claims the van to try to kill the boss. Joel convinces Garvin they're liars. Garvin discovers evidence that Whitey killed his father. Garvin machine guns Joel to death right as Joel starts talking. So before I would have gotten frustrated or maybe moved on, but we have these new tools, these AI tools, and this is a great use of an AI tool. So let's see if we can get something done here with AI. See if it can help us write. Boom. Let's see. Boom. All right. We're here. Let's Garvin hearing and finding out something and becoming suspicious of Joel. Yeah. So that's actually, let's go to it. That's a good instinct. So that's escalation 2. He hears something, right? The Booby Boy does that, right? So we've already done that. Doing it again would be tricky. You see what I mean? Unless it's from somebody he trusted or he gets some evidence. And the evidence happens in the twist. That's why we're missing like this beat here, right? That's what we're trying to fill in. But you're right. That's good instinct. That's actually escalation 2. I already compressed it, right, into escalation 2 there. But let's see. Oh, shoot. I'm not showing you this. Let me show you this. Sorry. Let me just show you what I mean. So, yeah, if you look at escalation 2, you'll see that the Booby Boy gang member claims Vanta gang tried to kill their boss. And Joel convinces Garvin they're liars. So that's the one where you hear something right there. It's first escalation. Yeah. Oh, you know what? What would help though is what if Garvin sees Joel lie to somebody else? Garvin sees Joel lie to someone else. That is interesting because that's the first time Garvin sees somebody lying, right? In fact, I love it. I don't know what is going on here, but thank you that he sees Joel as a liar. I think that is a great idea. That little bit, right? Garvin should be taken out. Yeah. Let it be revealed perhaps that he is a liar. Yeah. So the thing about an escalation like this is that Joel convinces Garvin that he wouldn't lie to him, right? It's like the leopard wouldn't eat my face, right? So I think that's it. I think we can get more detail into it, but I think we have a story. So let's see. Setup. Will Joel maintain his psychological control over Garvin? Joel recruiting Garvin at the mansion, being persuasive, showing Garvin his dream life. Booby Boo Gamma claims the Vanta gang tried to kill their boss. Joel convinces Garvin they're liars. Garvin sees Joel lie to someone else. And Joel convinces him. Oh. Yeah. And then so Joel has to convince him, right? Has to convince him. I wouldn't lie to you. And that's well, oh, I got an umlaut over that I. I'm using like an international keyboard because of the accents, and it's a little funky. And I'll just put this in parentheses. So there we go. Yes, let it reveal perhaps that he's a liar in truth. Like, yo, is where. Yeah. So that's the twist. Once Garvin discovers that Whitey killed his father, he knows that Joel lied to him. Right? That's how he knows. And so then he machine guns Joel right when he starts talking. So, yeah. So Joel's very convincing. Actually, oh my God. So this is going to be a personal story. I'll tell you. So when I was around 18 years old, I was still living at home. I was about to leave for college. And one of the things that I wanted to do was go skydiving. And my father was a surgeon, and he was a very, very charismatic guy. And he was also a hypnotist. And I remember one day, I woke up. I had just woken up, and my dad was sitting next to me in a chair by my bed. He never did that. It was just like the most bizarre thing. And it didn't strike me as bizarre. I was happy to see him, but he never did that. It was just a very unusual behavior. He was just sitting next to me when I woke up. And the first words out of his mouth were, "So, I hear that you want to go skydiving." And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Tell me about it." And I started talking to him, and we talked. And I don't remember the rest of the conversation, but I remember that I never went skydiving. And I swear I think my dad hypnotized me. He's never, that I know of, hypnotized me or tried to, but I swear I think he did it that day. I think he hypnotized me. And I'm not susceptible to hypnosis so much when I've been in those situations, but I think he snuck it in. I don't know what he did. I wish he was still alive. I'd ask him. But yeah, he did that. So I think the hypnosis is a really good idea. Just, he's hypnotic, right? And that way, that's why Garvin shoots him, right? If you let him talk, you'll never kill him. So just don't let him talk. Oh, I gotta write that down. If you let him talk, you never kill him. I'm just gonna put this quote. It's just a good quote that my dad, my friend's dad used to tell me that. He used to say, "Franco, if they let you talk, they'll never kill you," which was very kind of him. He was giving me a compliment, right? So if you let him talk, they'll never kill him. And that's actually really good because Garvin doesn't let him talk. Okay, so I think that's it for today, guys. I think we've got some good. We got a B story that's pretty strong. We got a C story that's pretty strong, and we've still got James Robert, Tammy Lynn, Whitey Jackson. They're coming. So that's about it for today. If you stayed with me this long, thank you so much for watching, and thanks so much for the comments. It was great. It's really fun. I really appreciate the feedback and great ideas. I love it. I love that Joel is a liar. That was it. You got it, man. I think that's what's gonna potentially end up in the script. So good job. You really helped me, man. It's great. So, all right. Well, that's about it, guys. I think I'm gonna call it a night. But thank you so much if you've watched this far. I really appreciate it. And I'll catch you on the next stream. If you want to know when the next stream is, feel free to subscribe to the channel, and you'll get notifications hopefully when the next stream's coming out. So I'll leave you with a little music as we say good night. Let's see.
Sun is falling, speed